Thank you for coming back. We're on our third installment of Keeping It 100, where we talk about building positive relationships. In this particular section, we're going to be talking about waking up the greatness what's inside of you. This section is specifically for students. So teachers, you can watch it if you want to, but for our students and for kids who are watching it, this section is specifically for you. And I think it was very important, especially as we went throughout the week and we had some really good conversations. I know very specifically, I talked to one of the students and I want to bring forth this analogy. I asked him, I said, man, are you a lion or are you a lamb? And I brought that analogy moving forward because one, especially with minorities and African Americans specifically, you know, we do have very powerful young men who run and who have control of their territory. However, we also have powerful young men who don't understand who they are.
Right.
So they lose out on their capacity to really to influence their neighborhood. So I use the analogy lion and lamb when I spoke to the young man. I said because a lion controls 10 upon 20 upon 30 miles of territory when he's in Africa. And every animal that's in his territory knows that when he steps on the scene, they have to act and function differently, right? He influences everybody around him, right? Or she influences everybody around him. However, you can have a lamb, and a dog can influence the lamb. Any animal running across him will influence that lamb, right? You can have somebody with a stick who will influence the lamb. So just about anybody can lead you. So I brought that analogy forward when I was speaking to the student because I was like, are you being influenced by people in the school? Do the local gangs influence you, right? Do the females influence you? Do your friends with bad habits influence you? Who is influencing you? Are you leading or being led?
Right.
Because that's one of the problems we have with some of our students. We have dynamic people, but they don't understand the greatness within inside them. So it's kind of like a lion acting like a lamb.
Right.
And we got to get you to the point that you recognize that you are a leader, whether you want to or not, and that you should not be led by people who are not moving forward and trying to be positive. Much like a lion, like with some of our young men, that if they don't understand and recognize their greatness to start moving forward toward positive things, they're going to be caged.
Absolutely.
Make any sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes
Or
perfect sense.
what's going to happen? They're going to be killed. So until you start walking in your greatness and recognizing I need to take hold of some of these academic pieces, I need to understand there's a certain way I'm supposed to walk and talk, then what happens is you'll be confined. And there's nothing worse than having a lion who acts like a lamb. Talk to me a little bit about that because you know, I'm passionate about, you need to be in beast mode. There's certain things, when I come in, I want to run it.
Exactly.
You should see,
Exactly.
you should see, when I come into a building, or when I come into an area, I want everybody to understand that this is my section, this is my piece. Talk to me about it from the sports standpoint.
Well, I'll get to the sports in a second, but, I want to connect it to a conversation I had with my son, sophomore in high school. And we just had this conversation last night about waking up that greatness inside of him. Just different levels of greatness, different levels that, he's pursuing in life, athletically and academically. His freshman year and halfway through his sophomore year has done a fabulous job academically. But he has some goals athletically as he pursue, playing basketball, playing football, whatever he chooses to do at the high school level. But my conversation with him was, if you're going to do it to the greatest ability that is within you. Maximize your potential, okay? I was listening to Will Smith the other day and he said, you should hate losing more than you love winning, okay? And so now we can bring it to the sports piece. I coached for 16 years, all right? And I brought my rings out today. Brought my rings out. I won 2 state championships in 16 years of coaching. A lot of coaches go 30 and 40 years without even winning 1 championship. When I started coaching, the goal that I set for myself is I want to win a state championship. So as a teacher and as a coach, I was able to bring in, certain strategies from the classroom into coaching to push and to compel certain players that didn't seem to be motivated. And so in order to do so, you got to walk heavy. So when you walk heavy in a place and you let people know what your expectations are, what your goals are, they may think you crazy. They may think you insane. They may not believe you, all right? But when you walk strong and you walk heavy and you believe in yourself and you pursue that, you know, I heard Eric Thomas, I have to bite off him a little bit. He said, you got to want success more than you want to breathe, okay? And that's something, ever since I heard him say that, I've been walking heavy in that because I've always walked and moved with a sense of urgency. My new saying is this: emergency, emerge in C. That means to rise above where you currently are and transition into a new place, okay? And so I'm about pursuing goals. And so for 16 years, I pushed and compelled athletes to move to that next level. Pursue your dream, pursue your goals, walk heavy in whatever you want to do. Don't let anybody label you and tell you that you cannot be successful. Everybody, if you put your mind to it, you can be successful. You can achieve whatever goals you want to achieve.
Yeah. For our young men, I do not want you to go through and live your life with excuses. We got to get to a point where we understand that there's some challenges that are specific to us, right? For minorities, the challenges specific to everybody. But we got to get to a point where we understand that that's a hurdle that we got to move over.
Right.
Because if you go through and you say, I'm struggling in math, right? And you haven't gone to a YouTube page, you're living with an excuse. The same way you go through and you search things for Instagram, for Twitter, for Facebook, when you're looking up a girl or whomever you're looking up, right? You need to put that same type of tenacity to it.
Absolutely.
Because we have the resources that are readily available for you, right? But I cannot change your mind.
Right.
It's all in your mind.
Right.
If you get it within yourself, believe in your heart, right, that you have the capacity to do it, all you have to do is start walking in it. Little bit by little bit by little bit. But you cannot go through and start talking it. Some of y'all are famous for, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. Don't tell me nothing. Right. Show me something. I want to reiterate. Don't tell me nothing. Show me something. You got to walk in it. Little steps. If you want to be successful in school, practice. Practice the same way you practice a jump shot, right? Practice on your homework, right? But then, if you want to be a leader, you got to practice in leading yourself, right?
Right.
Lead yourself, and then everybody around you is going to have to go through and adjust. Because no one can control anybody.
Absolutely.
But if you control yourself,
right.
Like when I feel like I'm on point, I put the suit on, right? And we have our competition.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose.
There you go.
I'm not going to tell you how many times I feel like I win. But I feel like it's something about when you're around somebody who believes in themselves that everybody around them has to adjust.
They have to adjust.
When you believe in yourself, they have to adjust. You know, this week or last week when we saw those boys and girls with 150 bow ties
150
on, looking dynamic, I can't tell you how powerful it was when visitors walked in our school and they saw black kids, white kids, Spanish kids, Asian kids, right? From the inner city of Lawrenceville, right? Looking good.
Looking good.
Looking good.
Yeah, that's a proud moment for me.
Proud moment.
That's a proud moment because, you know, I was just sharing this story with a friend today, looking back several weeks ago, closer to the beginning of the school year. When we first started, you know, talking about Bow Tie Tuesday, talking it up, dressing for success. You and I were wearing our bow ties on Tuesday. We may have had 7 to 10 students that were dressing up and participating in Bow Tie Tuesday. So to go from that point to where we are now, and I'm not saying this is the end, but to have 150 students to participate in Bow Tie Tuesday, that's a very proud moment for me, you know? And it goes back, you know, I want to go back to, you know, as a coach, you know, I've had great teams and I've had teams personnel-wise that weren't so great. But when they saw that my attitude was, I don't care who's in the other locker room. I don't care what their size is. I don't care who their coach is. We're going to go out, we're going to compete. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to bring it. There were times when we won games that we weren't supposed to win because of the attitude that we had before we hit the floor. So you got to have a certain disposition. You got to have a certain attitude prior to going into whatever challenge you're going into. I don't care if it's an athletic challenge, an academic challenge, a challenge on a job. But as a coach, it was my job to get kids to believe in themselves and to push themselves to the edge of themselves. That's a key thing. You have to be so uncomfortable with, whereas you're not used to a thing, and you have to go outside of yourself in order to be successful oftentimes.
So here's my thing in the last part. I want you to recognize one very important thing. That you've heard from somebody who's gone through some personal things, and it's going to be coming out soon with our specific sections of our story, who's gone through some things. However, we've never allowed excuses to turn around and impede our progress. You got to get to a point realistically and to live by one thing. If you live by one thing, don't use excuses. Whatever your barrier is, find a way to overcome it. Understand that you got to be cautious about what you say in certain sessions, because what you say to people will go through an influence whether or not you're going to be able to walk positively, right? So sometimes you're going to have to learn to bite your tongue. That could be a whole section right there. Be cautious of what you say, right? But I want you to understand that with your greatness, right? When you walk in it, the haters going to come. Recognize that, right? That the haters going to come, but you got to move forward past the hater, because they too are also a barrier. And it's a catalyst that will keep you moving and moving. Because I anticipate there's going to be some hate coming back after these things.
Some hateration.
And I understand that. But I'm fine, because there's going to be a couple followers. There's some followers who are going to follow you because they want to be like you. Other followers are going to follow you because they want to be like you. They know they don't have the capacity to be like you. So they want to hinder some of the things. Remember, wake up the greatness inside of you. But not only wake it up, right? But you got to walk in it.
You got to walk in it.
Move past all of the excuses about what you're going to do next Tuesday. Do it right now. If you're going to move forward right now. Take a small step in the big challenge of traveling towards your success. I'm Kenneth Vaughn.
I'm Travis Chapman.
With Creative Solutions.
Thank you.